What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for your March 14th, day 2 of 2023 NFL free agency live reaction and analysis. I'm going to break down all the big trades from today, along with all the big signings. I will touch on the occasional re-signing if you guys want me to. But let me know in the live chat which moves you want me to discuss in depth. I'm going to go through each and every signing, each and every trade, each and every transaction that has happened today and discuss it and give you my opinion on it. If that sounds good, don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe if you are new for daily NFL free agency content and live streams just like this. I will also be updating live depending on what tweets I get on my phone. So as soon as I see an alert, I will be on it. What's up, Monty? What's up, Singh? What's going on? Life and Sports Talk with Jake. What's up, guys? Yes, so just addressing the elephant in the room. The New England Patriots need to make a move. I'm waiting, Bill. Bill, get off your boat. Stop napping and make a move. Okay, I understand you signed Calvin Anderson. Nobody knows who that is. I want to sign somebody that people actually know. Can we do that? Thank you. Okay. Let's talk first about the move that happened last night. It's pretty much the only move that I missed out on last night. I like how the NFL's actually been scheduling these so that I haven't been missing much. But who knows? It could change tonight. So, the Cleveland Browns have signed a big run stuffer. His name is Dalvin Tomlinson. The Cleveland Browns are giving Tomlinson a 4-year deal worth $57 million, 27.5 guaranteed. Dalvin Tomlinson has been a very steady, good interior defensive lineman throughout his NFL career, playing for the New York Giants, playing for the Minnesota Vikings, and now the Cleveland Browns. The Browns desperately needed to help their run defense, and they've needed help at the interior defensive line level for quite a while. I want to say 2 to 3 years. They've kind of neglected that position. They've been unwilling to spend on that position. I think part of the Cleveland front office very much follows a Moneyball framework where they try to maximize certain positions. They try to put money into the offensive line. They've tried to put money into the secondary. They've tried to put money into receivers. But defensive line, specifically the interior, has been neglected. And Dalvin Tomlinson changes that. He's a big change in the Cleveland philosophy. I think part of that has to do with a change in a defensive philosophy. They're no longer going to be playing the classic Seattle scheme defense. They have changed to a Schwartz style of defense, which is going to be more aggressive. And of course, interior defensive linemen have thrived in that defense. We've seen Fletcher Cox be an all-pro with Schwartz in the past with the Eagles. We saw the Detroit Lions with Ndamukong Suh and even Nick Fairley in the past. So this is a position that is definitely valuable to his defense, and especially a guy that can clog up space up the middle and not allow their opponents to run the football. That is Tomlinson's specialty. And what that allows you to do is that allows more opportunities for sacks and pressure from somebody like Myles Garrett. It also takes pressure off of Myles Garrett up front to be, very active in the running game. So it allows him to get aggressive up the field to get to the quarterback. So Dalvin Tomlinson, to me, I don't know if he's necessarily worth huge money, but I think he's a good football player. He's proven that. I don't think he's a super disruptive pass rusher, but he has shown some flexibility to play in multiple schemes, and he's been productive and a good player everywhere he's been. I will say, like, it's tough for me to pay a guy that I don't think's a super pass rusher as much as they did pay him, which is 27.5 guaranteed, 57 million for 4 years. But like I said, I think he's been flirting with like top 20 defensive tackle play the last 3 or 4 years of his career. So if you're going to get a steady presence in the middle of your defense, a guy that's going to activate the rest of your defensive line, somebody that's going to help one of your biggest flaws and one of your biggest deficiencies, that definitely is going to help your team. So I like Cleveland actually going out of their way to target a big run stuffer, and that's what they've done here. I think a lot of people nowadays underestimate the run stopping category as a whole. I think so many people focus on pass coverage. So many people focus on pass rushing. So many people focus on the passing game. But without the ability to stop the run, you can't all the time tee off in the passing game. You can't have the opportunities to be great and excel in the passing game if teams are able to run on you. So Tomlinson is a guy that helps people around him. So that's why I like this signing for the Cleveland Browns. Okay, that's the first signing. If you guys haven't already, make sure you do Gronk Spike the like button and subscribe. Also, make sure to share this link with other people, other NFL fans. I've been posting a lot of content lately, so make sure that these videos and these lives get out there to other people. If you have NFL fans, or maybe I talked about a certain signing about your team, direct some of those fans to this video. It'd be much appreciated. Thank you guys for the support. Let's get to the next signing, or the next big move, which was a trade. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers traded veteran guard Shaq Mason, longtime New England Patriot and Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, multiple-time Super Bowl champion. Shout out to Shaq, Big Shaq. The Bucs received a 6th-rounder in exchange for a 7th-rounder back from the Houston Texans. So Shaq Mason lands with the Houston Texans as a big run-stuffing guard, or what would you say? A run-blocking guard. Never mind, not a run-stuffing. I got Dalvin Tomlinson stuck in my head. But Shaq Mason, run-blocking primarily guard, a powerhouse in his heyday, a powerhouse in his prime. I think he's a bit past his prime now, but he's still a good football player. Last year with Tampa Bay, he was a steady force on the right side of their offensive line, teaming up with Tristan Wirfs. The Tampa Bay offensive line last year was a mess, but I think Shaq Mason was one of the better aspects of that offensive line, and he was very good with the Patriots for a number of years. And like I said, especially as a run blocker, he's an experienced guy. And I think Nick Caserio was definitely big in this move. Like, I think he went out of his way to acquire this player to help out their offensive line. I think Nick Caserio has made an effort to have this offensive line intact. They're likely going to be trading rather to get up in the draft to that first pick, or they're rather going to just pick a quarterback at number 2. Some people think it could be Bryce Young. And if it is Bryce Young, then I feel like Bryce Young needs protection. So whether it's Bryce Young or not, it could be, I'm expecting CJ Stroud to go first. If CJ Stroud goes first, if it's Richardson or it's Young, either one needs protection. If it's Richardson, that makes a little sense in terms of Shaq Mason's a big, powerful guard. In the running game, his mobility in combination with this power is what made him an elite guard in the past. And, being able to pull and do things like that, I feel like having Richardson in a quarterback running game with Shaq Mason there, that would make sense. But if it's Bryce Young, then you have a guy that can pass protect, right? So you want to be able to secure the interior of this pocket for the future of your franchise. And Shaq Mason can be part of that offensive line. Houston still needs to secure the center position. I believe they were in on Jake Brendel of the San Francisco 49ers. But they also have, I think, still AJ Cann at one of the guard positions. I wonder if they move one of their guards to center, because right now they have 3 guards and no centers. So that's kind of interesting to me, that the way that they format that, or they shift some of their personnel around, just thinking about what they currently have. I'm actually going to take a look at their depth chart real quick. So yeah, looking at the PFF grade of Shaq Mason off the top of my head, he ranked 21st in the NFL last year for the Bucs. He had a better pass blocking grade, actually, than he did a run blocking grade. And over the years, actually the years before that, he was an elite player. In 2021, he was the 4th ranked guard. In 2020, he was the 6th ranked guard. In 2019, he was the 10th ranked guard. In 2018, he was the number 1 guard in the NFL. In 2017, he was 4th. In 2016, he was 4th. So pretty much every season, he has been a top 21 guard in the NFL. And that was last year, his worst year on a new team in Tampa Bay. So I wonder if he gets back to Houston, maybe Nick Caserio has some knowledge of what went well and what went wrong with Tampa Bay. But honestly, I feel like what went wrong in Tampa Bay is mostly what was around him. Donovan Smith was a disaster. The Bucs, offensive play calling was a disaster. Their scheme was a disaster. Left guard was a problem. Center was a problem. So other than Mason and Wirfs, it was a problem. So offensive line's always a 5-man unit and a 5-man collaboration. And you need that unit to be together, in sync, to be able to be at their best. So maybe Shaq Mason even improves upon last year. But he is getting a little bit older. I want to say he is 28, turning 29 years old. Maybe even 30 years old at this point. But still a very good football player and an upgrade for the Houston Texans. Just the final thing I want to check here on that note. Yeah, we're going to get to Jakobi Meyers. Don't worry. So they have, on the depth chart here, they have Shaq Mason slotted in as the starting right guard. Did they release? That would make more sense. Did they release AJ Cann? Yeah, they did. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so the Texans basically went a different direction at right guard. That's interesting. AJ Cann got released. So they've got Kenyon Green at left guard, Shaq Mason at right guard. Also, Shaq could be a pretty good mentor for Kenyon Green as well. So that's something to look forward to for Texans fans. Okay, so that's Shaq Mason traded from the Bucs to the Texans. And pretty much for Bucs fans, you're just trying to move cap space and trying to get younger. Shaq Mason, Texans have the cap space in order to take him on for the next year or two. Let's talk about Jakobi Meyers. What's going on, Harley Quinn? How you doing? Jakobi Meyers, 3 years, $33 million, 21 guaranteed. So the Las Vegas Raiders have a new weapon in town, and his name is Jakobi Meyers. Signed a 3-year, relatively cheap contract. 3 years, $33 million. The guaranteed money is $21 million. Jakobi Meyers reunites with his favorite play caller, Josh McDaniels, in Las Vegas. This is in collaboration with the Raiders sending Darren Waller to the New York Giants. Now, first, on the Darren Waller note, Darren Waller was traded because, Raiders fans, he is not worth the money that he's currently making for the Raiders. He's going to be 31, I believe. He's played 17 games over the past 2 years. Right, so he's been injured. I believe he only produced 300 yards last year. And when you're a tight end in a McDaniels offense, you need to be able to block at a sustainable rate. And I think the work rate for a guy like Darren Waller, who's a bit older now, who maybe needs to play less snaps for the money that he was making might not be worth it for the Raiders, and that's probably what they saw. For the Giants, we'll get to what makes him a good addition, potentially, but I don't think the Raiders really wanted an unreliable player on their books for that much money. What you're getting with Jakobi Meyers is the opposite. You're getting a great fit for this system, a player that's going to easily be able to fit into this offense, and McDaniels is going to know his strengths and weaknesses, and he's going to be able to know where to put him and where to play him. He's extremely reliable in terms of health. He very rarely gets hurt. And he's a very reliable player and personality. I think a big reason why Darren Waller was traded as well is because the guy was injured. He was on IR and he was making rap videos on the side. He was making music. And I don't know how that went over in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Jakobi Meyers is focused on football. Jakobi Meyers is all about football. The only reason he's here where he's at and getting paid what he is because that's what he's been about. He was an undrafted free agent, a quarterback turned wide receiver. That shows you his intelligence of coverages. One of the strong suits of Jakobi Meyers is his ability to read coverages, especially versus zone coverage, find the soft spots in the zone coverage, and make the catch. He has very reliable hands. Very rarely drops passes. And against man coverage, he has steadily become a more savvy route runner. Oh, like I said, a lot like Julian Edelman, he started out as a quarterback in college, so he had to learn how to run routes at an NFL level. And he's become better and better and better, and actually probably the best separator that New England had over the last 2 or 3 years. The best ability to run routes and actually get open. Despite his speed, which isn't spectacular, he can get open due to his suddenness at the top of his routes and his savviness to be able to run routes. And he always has great chemistry, which whatever quarterback he has played with, whether it's been Tom Brady or Mac Jones or Cam Newton even, Jakobi Meyers has been the number one receiver, or at least one of the top options for the Patriots over the last 3 or 4 seasons. So he's a good player. Jakobi Meyers is not a great receiver. He's not a game-changing player. And most of that has to do with he's not an extremely athletic player. There's a reason he wasn't drafted. Because he doesn't have superb speed. He doesn't have burner ability. He's not great after the catch. But he is an excellent possession receiver who constantly moves the chains on third down. And he also has become more of a red zone threat. I think one of the biggest areas he's improved the last 2 years has been his jump ball ability to go up and catch the ball one-on-one against certain opponents, because he does have pretty good height. I believe he's about 6'2", 6'3", and that helps him not being the fastest guy in the world, where a quarterback can throw him the ball up, like Jimmy Garoppolo, for example, in the red zone, and he can make a nice adjustment for a catch. So I think this is a really good contract for Meyers. I was expecting him to get more money, which is why I wasn't exactly all over him coming back to New England, because I thought that he was just going to make too much for my liking. But given that he's only making $11 million a year, which is very affordable for a player of his quality and his production and his reliability, I think this is a good move. And I do think it in some ways replaces Darren Waller, because he's another middle of the field option for Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the football to. And he does create another kind of intermediate to short option. If you think of the Raiders right now offensively, you've got Devontae Adams, who's a great route runner on the outside. You've got Jakobi Meyers, who can be the Z guy, who can play outside or can play inside, and he can move around. And then you've got Hunter Renfrow, who's the pure slot receiver who works the short areas of the field. And all of these receivers, in the way that they run routes, are perfect for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And we already know Jakobi can be successful with Josh McDaniels. So I do really like this move for the Raiders. And I wasn't shocked seeing Darren Waller get traded. For the Patriots fans out there, does it suck to see a good guy and a good player and a productive player like Jakobi Meyers leave New England? Yeah, it does. But, I mean, I'm not super mad about it. Like, as a Patriots fan, I'm not as angry as I was when Wes Welker left New England for the Denver Broncos. You know, I'm not angry the way that I was when we traded Randy Moss, or even the way I was when we traded Brandon Cooks. I think Jakobi Meyers is a good football player. I don't think he's a number one receiver. I think he fits a lot better with the Raiders because he's a complementary playmaker that already has a number one receiver. And if the Patriots do want to look different and want to be different and want to be potentially better at receiver going forward, then they're going to have to move on from players. You can only pay so many assets. So I feel like this was kind of a much needed say goodbye for New England, but also a welcomed addition to the Raiders. So it's kind of an interesting thing there. Now, I want to talk about the Raiders also trading Darren Waller for a 5th round pick in 2023 to the New York Giants. Now, I've already been a bit critical of Darren Waller and given you the reasons why I feel like he was traded. I think a lot of the reasons have to do with he's not the greatest fit. He's not the greatest blocker. He's a little bit older. His contract, things like that, his injury history. For the New York Giants, why would you make this move? Well, you would make this move because when Darren Waller is on the field, even though he has not been the most productive player over the last 2 years, he was a lot better. Like 2020, 2019, I would say was his prime. 2018 through 2020 was his prime. He's a little bit past his prime, but he's still an excellent and unique player. He's a unique playmaker because there's only so many tight ends that are as big as Darren Waller. I think he's about 6'5", 6'6", and can run like Darren Waller and can run routes as smooth as Darren Waller. So Darren Waller is a unique player. And if you know how to utilize him correctly, he can be a very nice asset. He's very good after the catch. He is very good in the middle of the field. And if you get the ball in his hands, he is dynamic, right? And I do believe he's instantly the most talented receiver on the New York Giants. The Giants desperately needed weaponry, and they get one with Darren Waller. Darren Waller is a guy that you have to be aware of. Darren Waller is a mismatch weapon. He is a guy that he needs a unique matchup, whether it's a unique looking safety that can run with him and also be big enough to play with him, or it's a fast linebacker or a very good corner. You know, there's only so few corners that can actually cover him. It's difficult to play man-to-man to Darren Waller because of how unique his athletic traits are. So that gives the Giants a weapon, a movable chess piece to be able to dictate coverage to the defense. The question about him moving forward will be, will he be worth it if he doesn't play? Because a large problem with him has been he doesn't play enough. He gets hurt. Now looking at Darren Waller here, my phone is going crazy right now, so I'm sure something happened. 6 games started last year, 9 games played, right? 43 yards per game. He saw a significant drop-off. And even in 2021, he saw a significant drop-off from 2020. So in 2019 and 2020, he was catching 71 to 74 yards per game. In 2021, 60 yards per game, 43 yards per game in 2022. So there's been drop-off here with his production, but a large part of it has been injuries because he hasn't consistently been on the field, or he's been hampered by these injuries, whether it's been a groin or a hamstring or a back or whatever it's been. And I think ever since getting that long-term contract, he has not had the same focus on football. We've seen him, venture off to different things. He's become a little bit more of a celebrity with his wife now, a WNBA player, so that whole deal. And that's what a lot of people were critical of the Raiders for trading him after he just got married, which was kind of weird. Like, it was bad timing, don't get me wrong, but that just because a guy gets married to a athlete who plays in Vegas shouldn't be a reason you can't trade a player. I think that's just the business of football. It's not the first person that's been kind of screwed over by logistics. A lot of people were complaining about that on Twitter. I just found that a little odd and a little sensitive and kind of nitpicking, because it feels like anything that this Raiders regime does is nitpicked, just like Jimmy Garoppolo and all these other things. So I think it's big. All right, so that's the Darren Waller news right there, and the Jakobi Meyers news. Let's check out the Twitter and see what's going on. So, the Bills restructured Stephon Diggs' contract, converting $5.4 million in cap space. Titans are signing former 49er offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill. Ooh, I like that. Titans have very much been focused on offensive linemen. Let's talk about that for a second. So, the Tennessee Titans signed Andre Dillard from the Philadelphia Eagles, a cheap offensive lineman, and now they've doubled down on the cheap offensive lineman market that perfectly fits their run scheme. That's Daniel Brunskill, one of my favorite players, one of my guys for NFL Free Agency 2023, and it's because he has starting experience for Kyle Shanahan's offense at center, guard, and tackle. That's pretty good. There are very few offensive linemen that have played well. It's not like he's been a bad player at all three spots: center, guard, and tackle. He's very athletic. He moves very well. And for the 49ers, it simply was a case of we can't keep him because he's more of a backup. Last year, he was kind of a guy where he would fill in if there was an injury. And in recent years, he's also been, okay, I'm starting at guard this year. I'm starting at tackle this season. I'm starting at center. So he's been all over the map for the 49ers. I think the Titans view that as a player that can help them on their biggest position of need, right? Nate Davis left. I love Nate Davis, young, good guard. But if you're going to go a cheap alternative, go with a guy that can fill in multiple positions and is a good football player with really good movement skills for your running game. So Daniel Brunskill, Andre Dillard, I like the vibe of the offseason for Tennessee. They weren't going to go big because they don't have a lot of cap space. They've been trying to kind of go budget balling, and I think that's what they've done so far, and I like the two additions to their offensive line this free agency. Okay, let's get to the chat. What's going on, everybody? If you haven't already, make sure you do Gronk spike the like button. We're going to get to the rest of these moves. I forgot to talk about a couple of the low-key moves by the Raiders, too. I should probably touch on that. The Bucs did the worst trade ever today, says Mr. Guggen. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I don't think it was the worst move ever. I think they just tried to move cap space because they're trying to rebuild. So having a guy on their team like Shaq Mason, who's getting to 30 years old, making the amount of money he was going to make this year, it made sense to move off of him. I understand as a fan that you want to be competitive and want to be a good team, but post Tom Brady, at least the first year after losing Tom Brady, you weren't going to be very competitive. I'm sorry to bring that to you right now, but yeah, I feel like this was more of like a rebuilding thing for them. It's just moving on from Shaq Mason. Don't get me wrong, Shaq Mason, you're going to miss him. He's a good player, but yeah. Luke G, shout out to Luke G, man. It's been a while. Shout out to him. He says, what are your thoughts on the Lions free agency so far? Oh, man. So they got two corners, and then I think they re-signed a couple of their own players. Am I missing anything else? So they got Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley. I got Emmanuel Mosley down here. So Emmanuel Mosley reached an agreement with the Lions. 1 year, $6 million. Good deal. I think they needed to address the cornerback position. They addressed the cornerback position. That's one of their biggest needs for sure. I expect them to likely it's going to be interesting because they have multiple first-round picks, so they've got a lot of versatility with what they can do. But since they've already addressed corner with 2 players, starting players, at least in my opinion, they might not go like I always view the Lions, the way their defense is constructed with kind of that Saints defensive scheme. You want to have good defensive linemen. So I wouldn't be shocked if they went defensive linemen. Probably edge, but they could go, interior as well. In the first round, like early first round. And then maybe they hit a corner on the way back or something else. But so in terms of the 2 players, I talked about Cam Sutton yesterday, but Cam Sutton's, I think, was a very good contract, very good value for the contract. I like that he has versatility to play inside or outside. I like that he's coming off his best season of his career. I like his age. I think he's about 27 years old. The Steelers have shifted towards more man coverage as of late than they've played zone in the past. They were a heavy zone team, but they've played more man as of late, which fits into what the Lions want to do, where they want to play a little bit of both. But with, what they've been doing, I think they want to try to steer towards playing more higher percentages of man coverage. So I think Sutton fits in there. I think he's a very solid player. I don't think he's like an elite corner or anything, but he's a certain upgrade for what you already had. I think he's probably the most talented corner on your team, and he's trending in the right direction. Another positive note about him is that the Steelers typically lose corners, and then those corners that leave, aka Mike Hilton, actually get better when they leave. So that's also a positive thing. On top of that, Emmanuel Moseley. Emmanuel Moseley makes a lot of sense. When I saw the signing, I was like, yeah, that makes sense because he's a tall corner. He's got good length. He's good in press coverage. He's got pretty good speed to him. He's coming off an injury, though, so it's a bit of a risk, but it's only 1 year, so it's not a big deal. If you hit on him, I think you'll be happy with the player. He's a good perimeter corner. He's not an amazing player, not a shutdown corner, but a good starting caliber corner for one of the best defenses in football the last couple of years. And he actually impressed me with his man coverage skills. He's one of those guys for the 49ers that I thought it was a rare guy that could actually play man coverage. Like usually they have a lot of corners that play maybe some, like a lot of press zone, press bail type of stuff, like Seattle scheme stuff. But Emmanuel Moseley was somebody that always stood out for me. Like, if you go back and watch that game against Dallas in the playoffs last year, not this year, but last year, he was really good in that game. I think against Amari Cooper. So he's definitely got skills. A lot of Niners fans were upset when they lost him. So I think he's a low-key signing, but definitely a good one for the Lions. So I like the additions there. And then they re-signed Alec Anzalone, which I thought was a bit of an overpay. But I understand why they did that. Who else did they re-sign? Oh, Luke, I appreciate you watching, man. 5'11". So he is 5'11". That's interesting you note that, Nolan. 5'11", but he seems so much taller. Like, when you look at him on the field, he seems so much taller than 5'11". Maybe that's just because corners in general are short, but 26 years old, too. So, yeah, John Kaminsky was a good re-signing. I like that. He was good last year. He's not like... I don't know if he should be a starter for most good defensive lines, but he's a good, like, rotation player. Yeah, the other thing, just looking at his numbers for Moseley, is just health. Like, that's been his biggest thing. I think that's why he only got a 1-year deal. But he's been good. Will Harris, yeah. I think you guys could use an upgrade at safety, specifically probably free safety. What about Adam Thielen or Mecole Hardman to the Giants? I could see Adam Thielen maybe. I don't know. I think Mecole Hardman in general is overrated. Like, he's fast as hell, but he doesn't use that speed in any, like, productive manner. He doesn't, like, he's good with, like, reverses, and he's a great punt returner and, like, screen pass guy, but he's not he doesn't get open down the field. I mean, he was on the best offense in the NFL. He was supposed to be the Tyreek Hill replacement, and he doesn't really separate. He's not a good route runner. He just doesn't have a knack for it. Maybe he could grow into it. I think really what he is like a fourth wide receiver who you throw out there every once in a while just to scare the defense, like back them off just because he's so fast. That's what he's useful for. That's why I thought like him going to the Chargers would be a good move because they need some speed. They need some like threat of a guy actually taking the top off the defense. Shock Universe says, we need Jerry Jeudy to the Patriots. I would like that. I think Jerry Jeudy, I've never been the biggest Jerry Jeudy fan. Like even when he was drafted, I wasn't like super high on him. I preferred CeeDee Lamb that year, I believe. I think those were the guys drafted in the first round. I think it was CeeDee Lamb and was Justin Jefferson in that draft too. But Jerry Jeudy's a really good route runner in the middle of the field, and that's what Mac Jones needs. So I would like that. So and I think he would work in Bill O'Brien's offense for sure. Do I think the Patriots will do anything? Eventually. They got too much cap space, and Robert Kraft is too much of like a competitive owner to not like just nudge Bill in the ass and say like, let's go, like sign some players. Usually Bill isn't super active in free agency at the start though. Usually it takes him some time and then he starts picking guys up when he's able to. Yeah, I loved Jefferson when he came out, and I liked CeeDee Lamb. Braden says, do you think the Giants make another big free agency signing? Well, they have addressed linebacker. They could still go for a receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if they went for a receiver or even an offensive lineman, but most of the offensive linemen are gone, like the good ones. So it's going to be tough. Yeah, OBJ could be the signing that you're looking for. I could see that happening. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the stuff. If you guys keep having questions, keep them coming. I'm just going to keep this rolling with different signings here. Touching on real quick the Raiders' other couple of moves. Philip Dorsett signed with the Raiders, another former Patriot wide receiver, a burner, still got great speed, played with the Texans, I believe last year and the year before, I think. But Philip Dorsett is like a depth receiver. He's like a fourth, fifth receiver. He'll probably make the Raiders as like the replacement for Keelan Cole. A guy that can stretch the field, a guy that can play outside. If one of your receivers goes down, he can fill in. He knows the offense. He's a smart guy. McDaniels knows him. That's why they signed him. He's a replacement for Keelan Cole, who couldn't catch a cold last year. So I think, honestly, that's probably an upgrade. And then after that, they signed Robert Spillane, a linebacker for the Steelers. Robert Spillane, I don't think is super active as like an actual defensive player. I'm not too familiar with his defensive game. I just know that he's an awesome special teams player. So I'm actually going to look for you guys. I think he might have been forced into more of a role last year on defense just because Devin Bush sucked. So he might have played more last year than he ever has. But that's why I looked at this contract and I said they must view him as more than a special teams player, because 2 years, $9 million seems expensive for Robert Spillane. He's 27, going to be 28 years old. So he did have 79 tackles last year. So that was the most tackles of his career. If any Steelers fans are out there, definitely help me out with this one. But yeah, definitely his most active year of his career. 59% of the snaps on defense. I just know he's an awesome special teamer. I'm sorry I can't contribute too much to Robert Spillane, but yeah, he should definitely impact the special teams for the Raiders and be like a rotation linebacker. If somebody's hurt, he can fill in for sure. And coming from Pittsburgh, I think it's a good scheme fit, a good transitional fit to the Raiders style of defense, which they're looking for more scheme fits in the front seven. So that makes sense. Gaming season, what's up, man? I just talked about Emmanuel Moseley with Big Luke. But just to touch back on it, Emmanuel Moseley, I like the signing. I think it's a good value signing. I think it has upside. It's only a 1-year deal, so there's very low downside to it. He's played well when he's played. One of the problems has been availability. And he did stand out to me in San Francisco as a guy that could play a touch of man coverage more so than other corners in that system. He's got pretty good length to him and decent height. Somebody said he was 5'11". To me, I thought he was like 6'1". Just the way he looks on the field. I think it's because he's got those long arms, which make him very much capable in press coverage. And yeah, overall a good player that I think's undervalued and probably will start for the Lions on perimeter corner, but you always got to be aware of his potential injuries. I think he's very much in line with what they've been looking for. Pretty good size, pretty good length, good press coverage ability, can dabble in man, can play zone. So he fits the mold of Cam Sutton. They signed Mike Hughes last year, like those type of guys. Ladarius, how you doing, my man? Thank you for joining the chat. Gronk, spike the like button, guys, if you haven't already. Does Heinicke start over Desmond Ridder? We should talk about the Falcons. I saw Ultra in the chat. What's going on, Ultra? I don't know if you're still here, but shout out to Ultra. Always doing his thing. He's actually interested in the Falcons this year, so that will be fun instead of just talking about the Georgia Bulldogs every day. So, the Atlanta Falcons made another move. They did re-sign Caleb McGarry today, but they have signed my boy, Taylor Heinicke. Yes, Heinicke. 2 years, $20 million to be maybe QB1 in Atlanta, but most likely a backup for the Falcons. I still don't know what they're going to do at quarterback 1, whether it's going to be Desmond Ridder, whether it's going to be a draft pick out of nowhere, whether it's going to be Lamar Jackson perhaps, maybe even Ryan Tannehill. Who knows? But the Atlanta Falcons have made a lot of moves, especially to upgrade their defense. They've got their offensive line back intact. Lindstrom long-term, McGarry long-term. They're ready to rock. Taylor Heinicke is a nice little backup quarterback. He's a gamer. I mean, the guy starts in the playoffs for Washington 2 years ago in 2020 against the eventual Super Bowl champs, has the best game of any quarterback that they played against in those playoffs, and nobody knew he was going to play. That's the type of player he is. He is a great backup because he's going to go in there, and he's not just going to be one of these backups who manages the game. No. He's going to let it rip. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to try to make some plays. He's going to try to scramble around. He's going to try to extend the game. He's not just going to play conservative. That's why I like him. He's not the best out there. He's not the most accurate. He's not the most mobile. He's not even the smartest. He's not the biggest. He's kind of small. But man, that guy has a heart. That guy is tough as nails. He fights. And I think Falcons fans will like him. If he ever comes into play, I think they'll like his style of play. I'm not saying he's going to win you many games out there, but man, you can't dislike the guy. He's just too much heart when he plays football. So, Heinicke, my boy, 2 years, $20 million. That is a little expensive, but you got to think, I mean, the guy has played a lot of starting games and starting snaps in the NFL for the Washington Commanders. Like, I'm just going to look up his numbers right now. He started 9 games last year, and he started 15 the year before. And last year, he was 5-3-1. I didn't even know that. He was above 500 last year. He was 7-8 the year before that. So his record as a starter is above 500. His record as a starter in Washington was above 500. He is 12-11-1 as a starter in the NFL for the Washington Commanders. On top of that, his completion percentage is above, for his career, it's almost 64%. His touchdown interception ratio is 34 to 24. He had 12 touchdowns to 6 picks last year. He had 20 touchdowns to 15 picks the year before. He did a better job managing the game and kind of playing, safe, conservative last year. But his yards per attempt went up last year. His air yards per attempt went up last year. His passer rating went up last year. His sack percentage went down last year. So he improved in a lot of areas, did Mr. Heinicke. But honestly, this is a guy that he's going to be 30 soon. He's a good backup. And as you can see, he can win games in the NFL with the right supporting cast. He is an interesting fit for Atlanta. I thought they might go with a guy more like Taylor Huntley. Or Tyler Huntley. I've got the Taylor stuck in my head. But Tyler Huntley, I thought they'd go more with him because of the running capabilities that Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder offer. That Heinicke, not so much. Not so much. But he can scramble. He's not a runner, per se. But he can scramble a little bit. There's a difference. If you know, you know. Okay? But yeah, I think that's a decent backup signing. Definitely a high-end backup. Gaming Season says, Taylor Heinicke is a real lunch pail type of guy. First guy in, last guy out. Hard-working, blue-collar type player. Every announcer about a white player ever. Bro, this couldn't be more true about this guy, though. I'm trying to tell you. But even the way he plays, expanding upon his play style, even the way he plays is descriptive of that. He's a good scrambler in his behind the line of scrimmage, extend plays, find the open man, run if he needs to. He's fairly accurate. He doesn't have the greatest arm in the world, but he can make some amazing throws. The guy is a weird player because he makes some big time throws, but then he makes sometimes he just can't make the throw. It's weird to explain. You know if you've seen him play. I don't know how to explain it. He's a gamer. He's Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's what he is. That is what he is. If you want to comp, he's Ryan Fitzpatrick. That is what he is. Honestly. Okay. What do I think the Pats should do? I think the Pats should get off their rear ends, put their big boy pants on, sign OBJ, trade for D-Hop, draft a right tackle, and sign a linebacker. And I will be a very happy man. That's what they got to do. Yeah, he plays like an arena league guy. I'm just telling you, if Taylor Heinicke was in the CFL, he would light it up. He would be perfect. He'd be a legend. Okay, what else we got? What do I think the Patriots will do? I think they'll get a receiver, for sure. They just, they have to. They'll get a receiver. I don't know when. I don't know how. They'll get a receiver. I do think they'll draft a right tackle in the first round. I do think they'll address corner, safety, maybe a linebacker, offensive line in the draft. That's what they're going to do. Telling you right now. Do I think they should give up 2 first-round picks for Lamar? I love Lamar, but I would give Mac a chance this year. I think 2 first-round picks and a huge contract for Lamar is a bit much, especially considering Mac was a great rookie quarterback, and the year that he failed was not on him, really. It was on Matt Patricia. It was on Bill Belichick. It was on the lack of offensive line support. A lot went wrong besides Mac Jones. And given Mac Jones' contract, how cheap it is, how affordable it is, you have a chance to build the rest of your roster while he's on this contract, and they should take advantage of that. So I love Lamar. I would love to have him. I wouldn't complain if they made that move. I don't think they'll make that move, and it's for the reasons I stated. I think they'd rather have the money to spend on the rest of the roster than the quarterback itself. I mean, if you think about it, they didn't even really spend a lot of money on Tom Brady because Tom Brady constantly took pay cuts. So Tom Brady always enabled them to build the rest of the team around him while he was there. Yeah, I don't know. You definitely got to be able to let him prove it. And the only way to let him prove it is actually give him some decent support. So we'll see if they do that. Yeah, gaming season, I know, man, but at least he wasn't calling your offensive plays. You know what I mean? Like, the guy was a defensive coach. It doesn't make any sense. Who's a decent player that the Patriots should look at? There's a guy named Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know if you know who he is. He's worn number 13. If you ever seen the haircut, he's got like the blonde hair at the top. Curly, you know. A lot of kids rock it. He made a one-hand catch in New York. He's very unknown. You probably don't know who he is. Like, it's not like he has the most followers on Instagram among NFL players or anything like that. Like, he's very low-key. Nobody really knows who he is. He's a diamond in the rough. But I do think the Patriots should take a look at OBJ. Okay. Who else is there? The Eagles signed Rashad Penny today. So, when this happened, I saw so many people tweeting, Rashad Penny is going to lead the NFL in rushing yards with the Philadelphia Eagles if he can stay healthy. And I'm like, first of all, no, because the Philadelphia Eagles run a running back by committee, but that's besides the point. Rashad Penny isn't leading the NFL in rushing yards because the guy can't last more than 6 games in an NFL season. Like, Rashad Penny is going to have superb yards per carry statistics in Philadelphia. When he is playing, he's going to rush 6 yards a carry. There's no doubt about it. With that offensive line, with how explosive he is an explosive runner. But part of the reason he gets hurt so much is the way he plays. He has like this madness to him that, I don't know, it just like enables him to get hurt. I don't know what it is. But Rashad Penny is an electric running back. But he's also an absolute Band-Aid. Like, anybody that's expecting him to play more than half the season is off their rocker. So please do not tweet, Rashad Penny's going to lead the NFL in rushing yards. When the Philadelphia Eagles wouldn't even allow Barry Sanders to do that because they would probably have Bart Scott, Boston Scott, taking half the carries from him. So it doesn't even matter. Don't even comment that. That's why Rashad Penny would actually probably work. Because Rashad Penny should get 10 to 12 touches with the Eagles, not 20. That's why it should work. Oh, the Detroit Lions just signed a big running back. The Detroit Lions made a move. I'm going to talk about Gilly Locke. Yeah, I'll talk about him. The Lions! The Detroit Lions are signing former running back of the Chicago Bears, David Montgomery. No, not Derrick Henry. Even though people were clowning me. Guys, I gotta give myself a pat on the back because there were a few very angry Lions fans. It might have even been gaming season who were very mad at me for saying they might trade for Derrick Henry. They just signed David Montgomery. So I got to give myself a pat on the back. They were going to sign or trade for a running back. David Montgomery's a good player. I'm not sure what the contract is just yet. We'll get to that when we get there. But David Montgomery is a capable 3-down running back. He can carry the load for an offense. He isn't an explosive back, but I think that makes him a great 1-2 punch with DeAndre Swift. Because DeAndre Swift has that like explosiveness to him, but you can't give him too many touches. He's also a bit fragile, which makes him more of a complementary back to more of a power back. Jamal Williams is probably going to leave elsewhere. David Montgomery is a better receiver than Jamal Williams. And Jamal Williams is a good player, but I like David Montgomery's style. I like his ability to break tackles. He's been one of the best in the NFL at breaking tackles. He's played with some pretty bad offenses and bad offensive lines, and he's still been pretty successful, and he's carried a very large load on the ground for the Chicago Bears. But yeah, I like his style of running. It's very chaotic. He's constantly moving his legs. He's so hard to bring down, and I think that's a guy that would really be a great addition to the Lions because it fits their power running style. It's going to really wear down a defense, and then you can hit them with the explosive number 2 of DeAndre Swift. And then they can also share pass snaps, right? So Montgomery is a guy that can play all 3 downs, can play as the 3rd down back, can catch the football out of the backfield, move the chains out of the backfield, receiving the football, catch 40 to 50 balls if you want him to. Jamal Williams was more one-dimensional, right? Jamal Williams was more of a guy that he's a 1st and 2nd down running back. He's not going to catch more than 20 to 30 passes in a year. Montgomery can be a little bit better, a little bit more in that area. He's not going to run for a 40-yard touchdown, but he's going to have a rumbling, bumbling, stumbling 25-yard run where he breaks 3 or 4 tackles. And I think the way the Lions need to play offensively is they need to play physical. They need to play with an edge. And I think that's the best way they can go. Run the ball, play action. That's where Jared Goff is at his best. That's what they did well last year. And I think David Montgomery definitely suits that style of offense. So I like this signing. I'm not sure how much it's going to be. Let's just check Twitter to see. I think he's still a pretty good running back, though. I think he was probably my number 1 running back in free agency after Josh Jacobs and Saquon got franchised. I think he was probably my 3rd guy. Greg, did you just tweet me? So David Montgomery got a 3-year deal worth $18 million total, $11 million guaranteed. So for the guaranteed money, I think that's pretty good. There's probably incentives on top of that. But yeah, that's a pretty good deal for David Montgomery, in my opinion. Stays in the NFC North, though. So he's familiar with playing in Green Bay and Chicago. What do you think, Sleeping Angels? Pat's keeping Damian Harris? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. What's up, Sideline Report? How you doing, man? Gronk, spike the like button, guys, if you haven't already. Nick Gill's in the chat. Nick Gill, let us know what you think of David Montgomery, bro, as the Bears fan. But he says, nice deal for the Lions. I agree. I think it's a solid deal. I'm not surprised he left. S Boogie says, AR12 or JJ8. San Francisco, we need a franchise quarterback. You got Sam Darnold, bro. Sam Darnold. Number 3 overall pick. What are you talking about? Sports Today says Lions got Montgomery cheap. Younger and more explosive than Williams. With the Lions O-line, he'll thrive. Yeah, I agree. I think you upgraded there for sure. Nick says he won't have to be fighting right through contact right as he gets the ball every play. Sideline Report says Lions, good move. Gaming Season says, dude, I'm so excited we got Monty. But really upset that this basically means Jamal is gone. Yeah, Jamal was a great personality. He was a great leader for the Lions. That's what sucks about losing Jamal, I would say. I feel like he was a great leader for the Lions. He was a good running back. Don't get me wrong. He was very productive last year, touchdowns, all that stuff. But like, I think the presence of what he brings was more important than anything else. Can San Francisco get Jacobs? They've got a guy named Christian McCaffrey. They've also got another guy named Elijah Mitchell. I don't think they want or need Josh Jacobs for the money he would cost them. Josh Jacobs is phenomenal, but he's not going to go to San Francisco. The Raiders want him too badly. I'm sorry. The Patriots have just re-signed some guys. They re-signed Jabril Peppers today. What's up, you Wish? How you doing, man? I'm not minding free agency. I wish the Patriots were a little bit more active. But, you know, it's been all right. What else happened today? So, speaking of the Patriots, I know there's a lot of Pats fans out there frustrated. Let's talk about Calvin Anderson, who was, I was hoping to see Calvin Johnson as the report. When I saw Calvin, I got a little excited, but Calvin Anderson, a tackle from the Denver Broncos, has signed with the New England Patriots on a 2-year deal. He was actually an undrafted free agent in 2019. The Patriots signed him, and he didn't make the team. He was cut in order to make some room for other players. Since then, he has developed into a good quality swing tackle, and he's still pretty young, as he was just drafted in 2019. So I want to say he's mid-20s, and he is coming from Denver, a guy that's got really good feet, which is interesting because that's similar to what Cole Strange had. It's not exactly the marquee thing of a Patriot lineman. Usually when you think of Patriot lineman, you think of power, you think of size. But this guy is a little bit more of an athlete at right tackle, left tackle, mostly right tackle, but also left tackle as well. He played both. He could be the starter for the Patriots. Maybe they really like him a lot more than we know. But he played quite a bit last year for the Denver Broncos. So obviously New England needed a right tackle. And they added some depth here. A guy that could play left or right side. Hold on. Just checking his grade. Oh, they already switched. They already switched him to New England. He was ranked 48th in the NFL at tackle. He played 289 snaps. So he played more snaps than Isaiah Wynn last year, guys, just for reference. He played 60 more snaps than Isaiah Wynn did last year for New England, and he rated 30 spots higher. So Calvin Anderson and Connor McDermott both ranked 46th and 48th in the NFL at right tackle. So for all we know, they might go with a collaboration at right tackle. New England might just go super cheap at right tackle. Who knows? Maybe they're not willing to pay some of these other guys, but with the new offensive line coach, I have more faith that Calvin Anderson is a guy that they could develop into a really good player because he's still got a lot of time to grow. He is a 1996, so he's 26 years old, and he's graded well throughout his career so far in his 3 seasons, and he's barely played, so that means that the snaps they have seen on tape are good, positive snaps. Maybe they see something they can develop. So I like that. I like the signing. I think there's upside there. Yeah, David Montgomery to the Lions. I just talked about it, man. One Pride. Maybe just scroll back a little bit. I just talked about it in depth a little bit, but I think it's a good move and a pretty good contract, and I think it's an upgrade to Jamal Williams, mostly because David Montgomery's been dealing with absolute crap at the offensive line, and also he is a better 3-down player. So whenever you've got Swift or Montgomery out there, each and every play, the defense has to really be covering that running back and understand that this could be anything. That was a big problem for me as a Patriots fan for a while, was like their running back position was so clearly identifiably lacking versatility. Like if James White was on the field, it was an 80% pass. If LeGarrette Blount was on the field, it was like 80% run. So that was that's a thing that I think super underrated. When you have running backs, multiple running backs who have 3-down skill sets, who can pass block, who can receive the football, who can run, I think that makes you that much better of an offense because it doesn't really allow a defense to clue into anything. I saw that Aaron Rodgers will be going on to Pat McAfee tomorrow, which means that I'm probably going to have to go live. Maybe I'll even stream and react to that live. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good idea or what? You guys think that's a good idea? What else is going on? So David Montgomery, the last thing we've seen. Okay. Brad Holmes is such a fantastic GM. Brad Holmes has done a great job. I can't deny that. I agree. ESPN and NFL Network are just talking about Aaron Rodgers all day, and it's super annoying. Jeff says, imagine if he retires. I would laugh my ass off. That would be the funniest thing I've ever seen. That would be great. I love how Aaron Rodgers is just messing with like those two teams. It's great. I love how he's like, before we get traded here. I love how Aaron's like, before we get traded, just sign Allen Lazard to a $40 million contract, can you? And then also, can you please sign Randall Cobb? And also, I would like OBJ on the team. And then after that, can you please make sure that I have all my needs met? He's like putting the Jets through hoops just to get him on the team. It's funny. The Chiefs made a move. Okay. So the Kansas City Chiefs, breaking news, are signing free agent defensive tackle Charles Omenihu. 2 years, a max of $20 million. He's coming off his best season, tallying 16 quarterback hits and 28 pressures with the 49ers. Omenihu is only 25 years old. I don't mind that move. I don't mind that move for the Chiefs. I like Charles Omenihu, but the thing about him is you've got to use him in a very specific manner. What he did with the Niners is he was pretty much a pass rushing specialist on the interior for them. So in any sort of passing situation, which I did say they did need that. I did say that I had them targeting somebody like Matt Ioannidis. So I did say that they could use that next to Chris Jones. So I guess I just kind of viewed Omenihu as more of a guy that has that versatility to play edge or defensive tackle. And maybe he'll do that with Kansas City. I do feel like their systems are not that similar between Spagnuolo and D'Amico Ryans. They're kind of different. But I do feel like because the Chiefs are a team that get in the lead so often, that when they're in that lead, having somebody like Omenihu who can work as a pass rusher on the inside is very valuable, especially next to Chris Jones, because he could really benefit from the double teams that Chris Jones sees. So I think that's a nice, savvy signing, especially a guy that's only 25 years old. I think it fits what the Chiefs have been trying to accomplish, which is finding youth on defense. They've been signing a lot of guys and drafting a lot of defensive players that are around mid-20s. So it fits the timetable of the Chiefs defensively, and it's a good addition to a position of need, which is just other pass rushing players. Because they lost Frank Clark. So without him, they don't have a great edge rusher, and they didn't really have another good defensive tackle that could rush the quarterback. So Omenihu could split between both potentially for the Chiefs. You Wish says, how would you grade the Texans free agency? Man, I'd have to be reiterated what they did. So Azeez Al-Shaair I saw, that was the Titans. My bad. Read that wrong. Noah Brown I like that move for 1 year, $2.6 million. I thought that was a steal. Noah Brown for $2 million for a year. I think Noah Brown's already like the second best receiver on the team, or third best at least. So I think he could start in the slot for the Texans for $2 million. He was good for Dallas, like a nice little third or fourth receiver. I think that was a nice move. But you wish, give me some of the moves they made. 43 catches, 555 yards, 3 touchdowns last year for Noah Brown for $2 million. I think that's a pretty good deal. Do I have any of them here? Oh, trading for Shaq Mason. I talked about that. I think that's a good move. What else? I talked about that in depth earlier, you wish, if you want to check that out. What else did they do? They did something I can't remember. Jimmy Ward, right. Jimmy Ward. Love Jimmy Ward. I went on a soliloquy about Jimmy Ward. So I love Jimmy Ward. I would have probably loved Jimmy Ward going anywhere, to be honest. I just love that player. Shock Universe says, what would be nice is Miles Sanders to the Pats. Nah, I'm not a huge Miles Sanders guy, honestly. I'd rather have Damian Harris for the money. I think Damian Harris is a better pure runner than Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders benefited greatly from the offensive line. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong about that. Other people will see Miles Sanders a bit differently than me. But yeah, I wasn't huge on him. Gaming Season says, do you really believe that Eckler to the Bears is a possibility? I don't think it's a good fit. I don't see it as a good fit. I don't think Austin Eckler is a running back you want on a power running team. It doesn't make sense to me. Nolan says, miss you, Jamal Williams already. I think Austin Eckler to the Bills, like JP just said, makes a lot of sense. The Bills, but then the Chargers would have to trade Eckler to an AFC competitor. Like Eckler to the Bengals, if they move on from Mixon, would be awesome. Eckler to the... Who else? I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of an NFC team. But I just feel like all the NFC teams are crap. No offense. Yeah, that one's tough, honestly. Eckler to the NFC, I don't know where I would really, really love the fit. Like, I think Eckler is great in a pass-heavy offense because he's an amazing receiver. He's a good runner, but you want him to be more contributing as a receiver, too. To the Saints... But they got Kamara, so, like, unless they move on from him, like, I don't really see that. There's too much money at running back there, to me. Okay, what was another signing that happened? The Tennessee Titans signed Azeez Al-Shaair from the San Francisco 49ers. More depth 49ers leaving the team, but this was another very savvy, under-the-radar pickup by the Tennessee Titans. This was probably the best third linebacker in football, Azeez Al-Shaair, for the 49ers. Every time he stepped in for the 49ers lineup was awesome. Like flying all over the field, great sideline-to-sideline ability. I think the biggest thing that he gives the Titans is speed at linebacker. He replaces David Long, who they lost. I was surprised that they didn't re-sign David Long, given the contract. But Al-Shaair, if he is a top 20 linebacker in the NFL next year, I wouldn't be shocked. He just didn't get enough play time because he's behind Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. And those guys are just awesome. So, like, you knew that he was going to leave. You knew that he was going to go somewhere where he could get more of an opportunity. And looking at how he played the last couple of years, like, you would have sworn that there was no drop-off between him and the other two guys. And those two guys are awesome, so. you know, that's kind of how I feel about him. Oh, they already moved him to the Titans. I was like, why? Where is he? I was trying to look for his PFF. PFF's moving too fast for me, bro. Okay. So he graded 18th in the NFL last year at linebacker. 74 overall grade. He had an 82 run defense grade. He had an elite coverage grade of 86.5. He played 383 snaps. Oh, no, his pass rush grade, sorry, of 86.5. Which makes this fit even more ideal because the Titans do like to send their linebackers on blitzes every once in a while. The year before that, he ranked 27th. I'm looking more into his stuff. Azeez. I like that name, too. He started 13 games in 2021, had 102 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. He started 9 games this year. So Greenlaw and Warner have both been hurt at different times. He started 5, 13, 9, 31 total games in his NFL career. And a really good run defender and pass rusher from the position. So good signing for the Titans. Austin to the Vikings. Austin Eckler. Well, I mean, can we stop calling Eckler Austin? Because it confuses me every time. Sorry, Timmy. I don't mean to be mean. Please stop calling Austin. Please stop calling Eckler Austin. Because every time I hear Austin, I think of Miles Austin. I think of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think of Tavon Austin. I think of any other Austin that has ever existed, because when I see Austin Eckler, I literally just see Eckler. But I don't know. Unless I heard they're going to get rid of Cook, so it's a possibility. But why would they get rid of Cook and then bring in Austin Eckler? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. No problem, Timmy. I'm just messing with you. But please call Eckler. Everyone, that's a public service announcement. Please call Austin Eckler. Andy Dalton to the Panthers. It's not that strange because they didn't have another quarterback. So they have the first overall pick. They're going to pick, I think, CJ Stroud, but they're going to pick a rookie quarterback. And with a rookie quarterback, you want to have a veteran that can also play. And Andy Dalton last year played his best football, whether you want to believe it or not, since 2018. Andy Dalton played better last year for the New Orleans Saints, who, by the way, played the Panthers twice last year, so they got a good look at him. He played better than any year, whether it was with Chicago, Dallas, since he was an actual starting quarterback with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he is at the very least, a good veteran backup quarterback who can mentor your rookie quarterback. And he's a pocket quarterback. So if they're going to take Bryce Young or they're going to take CJ Stroud, that's the type of guy that you would want. Because he's been in a lot of systems. He's had success in the NFL. He's not a big personality. He's not a big name. You know, this isn't like having Cam Newton as a backup, right? This is a guy that he's going to do his job. He's going to be a good backup, a good guy in the locker room, a veteran. And then if you need him to start some games, he's certainly capable. He showed that last year. I thought he played pretty well for the New Orleans Saints. He played better than Jameis did. I'll say that much. So last year he went 6-8 as the Saints starter. He had a 67% completion percentage. He had 18 touchdowns to only 9 picks. And he had a 95 passer rating on the season. So those are pretty solid numbers. The year before that, in Chicago, on a bad team, right? with a bad offensive line and a bad receiving core that everyone was saying, oh, it's Justin Fields got nothing around him, Justin Fields this and that. Andy Dalton went 3-3 as the starter. So he can still play a little bit. I'm not saying he's like Andy Dalton from 2014, but he can still play a little bit. So it does make sense to me because they have Matt Corral, but Matt Corral, they said, is on the trade block, and Matt Corral is coming off an injury. So he's not going to be the guy. And he's not the guy that you want if you're trading for the first overall pick. Greg says he likes Williams, but Montgomery is a better back. Timmy says Dolphins trade Tua for CJ Stroud. Good luck, Miami. Good luck with that. No team is trading for Tua non. I'm sorry. First of all, you got to deal with the fan base. Second of all, you got to deal with the concussions. Okay? So, I don't even know how much longer Tua is going to last in the NFL. Why would they trade CJ Stroud for Tua? Come on, bro. Allen Lazard to the Jets was a massive overpay. No way I'm giving $11 million a year to maybe 6-7. I agree. It was an overpay. But they're doing it for Aaron Rodgers. That's why they're doing it. I guarantee you there were other teams in the negotiations with Allen Lazard literally just to drive the price up. I guarantee you the Buffalo Bills were in negotiations with Allen Lazard just to drive the price up. Shock says, who would you like the Patriots to sign? Guys, you keep asking me that. I want a receiver. How many times do I got to say it? I want a receiver. I want D-Hop. I want Odell. I want Brandon Cooks. I want a receiver. Jerry Jeudy. Give me a receiver! Okay, I'm done with it. Stop asking. What else we got here? I saw 80 for Brady Harley. Keenan Allen? I heard he's sticking around. Bro, give me Odell, you wish. Give me Odell. Give me Odell and D-Hop. Come on, both of them. I'll take both. Okay, what else we got? Samaje Perine signed with the Broncos. 2-year deal with the Denver Broncos. I knew that Denver would be in on a second running back. And they have one here with Samaje Perine, who is going to be a nice compliment to Javonte Williams and potentially even the lead back if Javonte Williams takes a little bit more time coming back from his serious injuries. Because he had a very serious injury. So it's going to take him some time to come back and rehab. But Samaje Perine, underrated. I thought he had his best year of his career last year. I thought at multiple moments and times he outperformed Joe Mixon. I think there's a reason that even when Joe Mixon was a very good running back in this league, he was taking his spot on third down because he's a very good pass protector. He's a good receiver, and he's just a smart football player. So Samaje Perine is a nice, capable number 2 back in the rotation of Denver. And you know that Sean Payton's going to want to run the ball. You know who Samaje Perine reminds me of? This just comes to my mind. It reminds me a little bit of like Pierre Thomas with the Saints. Like, he's not going to be the lead back, but he's like a good pass back, a good pass blocker. Like, that's who he reminds me of if you're looking for a Sean Payton comp. Pierre Thomas. That role. That's what he's going to do. Julian says, what team do you see taking a Bijan now? Not sure if you talked about this. No, I didn't. I I think you can only take him if you are certain you're good. If you have all the other positions taken up and you're very close, then take a swing. How far will he make it in the draft? I think that's the interesting question. So let's go through the team possibilities. Buffalo might do it. I don't think they would, but they would think about it. The Jets, no. The Dolphins, unlikely. The Patriots, not happening. The Steelers, unlikely. The Browns, no. The Ravens, possible. The Bengals, possible, for sure possible. The AFC South, not the Texans, not the Titans, not the Colts, not the Jags. AFC West, Chargers, possible. If Eckler's gone, yeah, that could be a landing spot. The Chiefs, possible for sure. The Raiders, no chance in hell. The Broncos, no. The Giants, absolutely not. The Eagles, I wouldn't rule it out, but probably not. Cowboys, probably not. Although you never know with Jerry Jones. I will say that. You never know with Jerry Jones. You can't rule out Jerry Jones. Washington, I don't think they should, but they might think about it. The NFC North, the Packers, no. The Lions, no. The Bears, I mean, maybe, but no. They only have one first, right? So, no. Because he's going in the first round. I just don't know where. The Atlanta Falcons, I think he would bring more value to that team, but Al-Shaair played really well last year, and they got so many other needs. Carolina, no. The Saints, no. Well, I mean, who knows? They're a bunch of idiots. And the Bucks, people are saying yeah, but no. Like, no chance. They're rebuilding. Rashad White's not that bad. Seattle, I wouldn't rule out Pete Carroll, but I love Walker. Walker's unreal. Cardinals, unlikely. 49ers, no chance. And then Rams, no, he's not going to make it there. So, yeah, I mean, those are all the teams. Thoughts on the Patrick Peterson move? I talked about that in a previous video if you want to check that out. Overall, it was strange. I didn't see it coming, but it was a solid move. He had his best year of his career since, I don't even know. He had his best year in 4 or 5 years last year. He had a lot of interceptions, a lot of big plays. He played really well in a lot of zone coverage. And they had to replace Cam Sutton. The weird thing about it is he's an older player on a team that's not exactly in win now mode. The Steelers are still a few years away, a couple years away from competing, in my opinion. At least one, probably 2 or 3 years away from competing. So it's weird. It's a weird landing spot for a player that maybe had a little bit of a resurgence last year. Travis Homer signed with the Bears. The Broncos signed a fullback, by the way. Mike Burton. Oh, the Minnesota Vikings are working to finalize a deal for Arizona Cardinals corner Byron Murphy. A big-time defender lands in Minnesota. So people were saying, where are the cornerbacks, Minnesota? You let Pat Pete leave. You cut Cameron Dantzler. We need some corners. Enter Byron Murphy of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I will say this. As a man coverage corner, which is likely the type of style of defense Brian Flores wants to run in Minnesota, I don't love the fit if Byron Murphy is going to play on the perimeter. I don't think his speed is to the level that you need to be a sticky man corner. But if he plays in the nickel position, he might thrive. He might. He is a good player. I like Byron Murphy a lot. I like his versatility. I think he's a very smart player. He's great in zone coverage, so that's where I thought he might stick in Arizona with Jonathan Gannon. He's thrived more in zone coverage than man. But in the nickel, he's been better than on the outside. So I actually think they're signing him to be the nickel corner. That's what I think. They're signing him to be the nickel corner. I don't think he's going to play on the outside. I want to see what the money is here. But I think, okay, 2 years, roughly $22 million. One of the top corners on the market, according to Ian Rappaport. Yeah, I agree. One of the top corners in the market, only $11 million per year, is pretty solid for Byron Murphy. I just want to say he's got to play in the nickel. I don't see him as an outside corner in a man-heavy scheme. But he is a very good player, very smart player. Let's see. Just give you some statistical background here. Byron Murphy. He's still young, 25 years old. Just turned 25 in January. He started 9 games last year. He was injured. 16 before that. 15 before that. 16 before that. 36 tackles. 2 fumble recoveries. 63 completion percentage allowed last year, which was the best of his career. He did allow 4 touchdowns and 103 passer rating, though. Like I said, he played a lot outside in comparison to other years. 87 and 92 the years before that. Cornerbacks. '46th graded corner in Arizona last year. He has a very strong run defense grade. Good tackler. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I expected from a statistical standpoint. Good player. I think he's a better nickel player. And we'll see how he fits in the scheme. I have my reservations about the fit, but I think he is a good player on the surface. So Minnesota gets a corner, a huge need for them in this free agency. I haven't talked about Stephon Gilmore yet. I just realized that. Who do I got the Steelers taking at 17? Corner or offensive line? It would make more sense to me if they took offensive line. But corner is a strong possibility given how strong the class is. Matthew is a massive Patriot hater, Harley. Thank you for the compliment on my sweater, by the way. I appreciate that. Harley thinks that I don't see her comments, but I see every comment, just so you guys know. Okay, let's talk about Gilmore. The biggest game-changing move of the day, and maybe even free agency. Yes, I said it. It was made by the Dallas Cowboys, trading a 5th-round pick for the Hall of Fame lockdown corner. His name is Stephon Gilmore. Gilmore is one of the best cornerbacks of this generation, and now he is a legit star with the Dallas Cowboys, playing corner on the perimeter on the opposite side of Trayvon Diggs. Stephon Gilmore fits Dan Quinn's system a lot better than you might think. Last year, he played inside Gus Bradley's defense, which they both come from the same tree of Seattle, playing a lot of press bail coverage. Gus Bradley loves his press cover 3 system. But previous to that, the Patriots, where Gilmore played a lot of man coverage in cover 1. Both defenses feature one safety deep in the defense. Both defenses ask you to be aggressive at the line of scrimmage and match your man. And now he's going to Dan Quinn's system where it's basically a mesh between a lot of man cover 1 and cover 3 zone. So you've got a great mesh between the two destinations where Stephon Gilmore has seen his most success. And I think the thing I admire about Gilmore is how he's been able to take his game, as primarily known earlier in his career as a man press cornerback, and transformed himself into a savvy, smart, playmaking corner on top of being a lockdown man-to-man player. It's very rare that a corner can go from being I am man up guy to I'm also Mr. Interception, Mr. Big Play, tip down the ball, all that stuff. Stephon Gilmore, I can't speak highly enough about. If you know me, if you know this channel, obviously Gilmore was a huge part of the Patriots' success from 2017 through 2019 in particular, and won them a Super Bowl, was the Defensive Player of the Year with my Patriots, and was the best corner in a given season that I've seen over the past 5 years. That's how good this guy was at his peak. He's not quite that good anymore at about 31 years old, but if you turned on a Colts game, all you would have seen last year was Stephon Gilmore making big play after big play after big play in key crucial moments. There was a stretch of time where I swear that Stephon Gilmore won the Colts individually 3 games on the season with tipped passes, interceptions, game-changing and game-sealing plays that he has always had a knack for in the biggest moments. That is a Hall of Fame player. Do you make the big moment at the biggest time? And that's what Gilmore has done throughout his entire career. That is why he'll be in the Hall of Fame. That's why he won the Defensive Player of the Year. And I think he's going to be a great addition to the Cowboys. He fits the system smoothly. He fits what the Dallas Cowboys need, which is a experienced veteran defensive playmaker who has been there, who has won games, who has been on great teams, who has championship experience, who can elevate and push the younger, talented players on this roster. If you do not think Stephon Gilmore is going to immediately get in that locker room and make Trayvon Diggs a better corner, you are wrong. He did that with J.C. Jackson. If you do not think Stephon Gilmore is going to enter the Cowboys locker room and make Micah Parsons a harder worker, you are wrong. If you do not think that Stephon Gilmore is going to push CeeDee Lamb to be a better receiver, you are wrong. This is the type of player that Stephon Gilmore is. He's smart, he's hardworking, and he's a leader kind of silently behind the scenes. This, to me, is not going to be the biggest signing in terms of money. This isn't going to be the biggest signing in terms of wow factor. But this very well might have the biggest impact on the NFL season, because the Dallas Cowboys, in my mind, went from they're good to I think they might win the entire conference. That's what I think of this move. I know it's crazy. People don't like to hear that the Dallas Cowboys might actually be good this year. I have never said that on air live on the Bottom Line View. I have never said with my heart of hearts that the Dallas Cowboys should actually be favored or should actually be put in a position where they're really good. The Dallas Cowboys are very good. The NFC sucks. They don't have a lot of competition. I will be picking the Dallas Cowboys to win this division over the Philadelphia Eagles, who have lost player after player after player on defense, and the Dallas Cowboys are only going to get better from here. I think they might be looking at a wide receiver. I think they might be looking at... They just re-signed Leighton Vander Esch. Dallas might be, for the first time in a long time, real this year. Not just a hype machine, but actually real. This might be their best team since 2014. I'm just saying. Yeah, what do you think of Jimmy Handsome with the Raiders, Harley? So we had Timmy saying Gilmore is washed. Okay, so let's take a look. Stephon Gilmore was graded as the 9th best cornerback in the NFL last year. The year before that, he had a near identical grade. Let's check his stats. I mean, you would think a player of his age might be washed, but that's nothing close to the truth. He's 32 years old. He played 16 games last year, had 2 interceptions, 11 passes defensed, 66 tackles. He made the Pro Bowl the year before. He had what? Passer rating allowed of 74. The year before that was 78. The year before that was 75. The year before that was 44. And the year before that was 73. I don't think you could find a better cornerback since 2018 than that right there. He has never allowed a passer rating above 78.6 in his career since 2018. Yeah, he's still good. Even though I don't know why he wears the number 5, kind of an odd choice. I think he should go back to 24. He's without a doubt a top 10 corner in the league still. It's not even a question. Like, people still think like, I mean, people think like James Bradbury is good. Gilmore's like 3 times better than him. What is this? What else is going on here? Travis Homer. I don't care. Foot says, do you think Trent Brown could be moved to right tackle due to the Patriots being very close to signing Andre Dillard? You know what? I think they tried to sign Andre Dillard, but then they actually ended up signing Calvin Anderson. So I think that Andre Dillard was just intended on being a swing tackle. So I think Calvin Anderson was just another solution for the swing tackle. So I don't really know if left tackle it's a possibility. I think it's definitely a possibility. I might even prefer it, but it depends. I don't know. Because maybe, okay, this is how I could see him going back to right tackle if they sign Orlando Brown. If they sign Orlando Brown only wants to play left tackle. So he'll play left tackle. And I wouldn't rule out New England for signing Orlando Brown. But that's probably very slim. I think they're going to draft a tackle in the first round. And I think they're going to have Trent Brown play left tackle, and they're going to have the kid, whoever it is, play right tackle. That's what I think. But I could be wrong. He's played both positions well. I could see him play both. I don't know. Why are the Ravens doing nothing? I don't know. Maybe they're still trying to figure out what's going on with Lamar Jackson. What's going on, Connor? How you doing, man? Says, really wanted Montgomery or Penny to the Chargers. What about Damian Harris? You like Damian Harris? He's out there. What good corners are on the market? Let me take a look for you. Aaron Rodgers is like Harley Quinn, needs the attention. Let me see. So Marcus Peters is still a free agent. He would be the top guy for me personally. After that, Shaq Griffin is a free agent. He is definitely serviceable. Did not play that well last year, but he's a starting corner. William Jackson might not be the same player he used to be, but worth a chance. Who else they got there? Bradley Roby, Ronald Darby. I would say I like Ronald Darby more than Bradley Roby at this point. Anthony Brown started for the Cowboys. Who else? Byron Murphy just got signed. Rocky Sin is probably the second or third best corner on the market right now. Sean Murphy Bunting. Bryce Callahan is still a free agent. He's probably the best nickel corner available. I don't know why they have Logan Ryan listed as a corner, but he's on the market. He's old, though. That's pretty much it. Like, those are the top names. I would say Peters is definitely the best, and probably Bryce Callahan is second. Rocky Sin maybe third. Depends what you want, though. Depends what you need. Apollo says, are the Patriots going to get anybody notable? Yes, they will. Have faith. Have faith. You gotta believe. Ask Harley. You gotta believe. Should I talk about Allen Lazard? You guys want to talk about Allen Lazard? So I still got to talk about Allen Lazard, Jerron Reed, and Samson Ebukam. Did I miss anybody else? Kaiser White signed with the Cardinals, which I don't know, man. Like, Kaiser White's a solid linebacker, but I didn't think he played, like, amazing with the Eagles last year. I thought he was kind of, like, lesser than he was with the Chargers. I thought he was better with the Chargers than he was with the Eagles. And Jonathan Gannon signed him to the Cardinals. And they already have a ton of linebackers. Like, I don't know. I guess Isaiah Simmons isn't really a linebacker anymore. He's more of like a safety, but Singh wants to hear about Allen Lazard. Okay. Hold on. I just want to get his stats up here. Allen Lazard's a lot younger than I thought. He's 27, but he feels like he's been in the league forever. Okay. Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard, the Aaron Rodgers go-to man of Green Bay, has signed a 4-year, $44 million deal with half of it guaranteed. Allen Lazard is a big receiver, standing at about 6'2", 6'3", big frame, big palms, good possession receiver, coming off his best season of his career, mostly out of necessity because they lost Davante Adams. So he became a target fiend for the Green Bay Packers. 60 catches on 100 targets, not exactly the greatest catch percentage right there. 788 yards and 6 touchdowns. Allen Lazard is a very solid complementary receiver. He's a nice number 3, a solid at best number 2. That's what Allen Lazard is. He doesn't have a lot of speed. He's like a poor man's Jakobi Meyers. That's what he is. He doesn't run routes as good, but he's got a good ability and a good chemistry with Aaron Rodgers in the red zone. 14 touchdowns over the last 2 years. And he's a big target. And Aaron Rodgers likes him because he's reliable. He doesn't miss a lot of games. And typically, he's good at working off of a number one wide receiver. With Davante Adams, I think Packers fans liked Allen Lazard more because he was like that guy that would occasionally come in with the splash play, move the chains occasionally, make a nice little slant. He's really good on that slant route that Rodgers loves to throw over the middle off the RPO or something. You know, Rodgers, the classic fake to the back, and he just rips it with no legs, just throws it with his arm. Lazard's great over the middle of the field. He's a good slot receiver as well. He'll primarily play in the slot as like a big slot receiver for the Jets. The question I have is how does that work with the rest of the guys? So basically, Allen Lazard replaces Corey Davis in this offense. For my money, Corey Davis is a more talented player than Allen Lazard. Corey Davis was not worth the money for the Jets because he couldn't stay healthy. And Corey Davis is more of a good number 2 than he is a great number 1, which is what he was paid to be as a number 1 receiver for the Jets. It just didn't work out with Mr. Corey Davis because he didn't stay healthy. But Corey Davis has got that speed. He's got that explosiveness. He was a better player than Allen Lazard. And basically what you've done here is paid the money that you would have paid to Corey Davis to Allen Lazard. And why you're doing that is to appease a quarterback that you don't have on your roster yet, that you're having to trade for, that wants certain things, wants you to meet a checklist of requirements for him to come to your team. And I get it. You're desperate. You're the New York Jets. You haven't had a quarterback since I don't even know. Would you include Brett Favre on that? Would you include Chad Pennington? I'm not sure, Jets fans. But Allen Lazard's like a decent number 2, a good number 3 for an NFL offense. Elijah Moore, that probably hurts his prospects moving forward, but he did not overly impress me last year. Of course, you've got a really good number 1 moving forward in Garrett Wilson. It's just a matter of how good will he get. And Rodgers is looking for guys that he has rapport with. But typically, you're not signing these type of guys to big contracts with big money. Like when Brady went to the Bucks, he didn't ask you to sign Rob Gronkowski to a 4-year, $44 million. He asked you to sign him for a 1-year or 2-year deal for a lot less. So I think that's a huge difference there overall. I don't mind the move. I just think that they overpaid because they want Aaron Rodgers. That's what I really think at the end of the day. So Allen Lazard to the Jets. I am intrigued to see where Corey Davis goes, though. Corey Davis will be interesting. I still think that guy can play. He's just not been able to get on the field. I don't know if I should even say get on the field, like stay on the field. Matthew says, when is the last time someone came out publicly and said, I want to be a Patriot? I don't know. The Titans have signed Arden Key. Let's go. Mike Vrabel signed my boy. We love it. We love it. We love it. That's perfect. That's perfect BLV propaganda. That is perfect. Yes, Sports Today. Thank you, Ladarius. Thank you, Ladarius. The Titans have agreed to terms with defensive lineman Arden Key on a 3-year, $21 million deal with a max value of $24 million. That includes 13 fully guaranteed at signing. Source says, after 4.5 sacks with Jags, he cashes in Arden Key's career year took a turn with the 49ers a few years ago when he registered a career-high 6.5 sacks. New Titans GM was with the Niners at the time as director of pro personnel. The propaganda of the BLV has arrived. Arden Key. Okay. Arden Key is 26, maybe 27, and he is a Tennessee Titan. Arden Key will be a replacement for DeMarcus Walker, who left to the Chicago Bears as a hybrid edge interior pass rushing specialist. Arden Key has 11 sacks over the last 2 years, and he is very, very talented as an athlete to get into that quarterback. 15 quarterback hits in 2022, 17 in 2021, 11 in 2020. Arden Key has been improving his game and adding layers to his game with San Francisco and then Jacksonville, showing that he can play in multiple schemes that are drastically different in 2 very different roles. And now he'll be playing with the Tennessee Titans under Mike Vrabel and company in that DeMarcus Walker hybrid, Danico Autry hybrid role, which Mike Vrabel seems to have an affinity for, maybe because he played alongside guys like Willie McGinnis. Arden Key is that type of guy. I actually was surprised by his performance against the run this year. When you look at how he performed against the run, he was one of the better players against the run for Jacksonville at that edge spot as well. When really coming out of the draft, he was kind of known as a talented, raw, pass rushing, finesse, off the edge type of guy. Very raw, but then took him a couple years to develop, and now he's earned himself a contract. And I think he's going to be a really nice addition to the Titans as a guy that can play in a couple different spots, in a couple different roles, and help the pass rush and help that interior pass rush get a little bit of a push. They'll also be getting back Harold Landry this year, which is going to be massive for them. So that defense for Tennessee could definitely be better this year than it was last year, just given the health that they might have. So I've liked their defensive additions. They've got Al-Shaair now, and they got Arden Key, 2 of my favorite guys on the market for not crazy expensive contracts. Greg says the Patriots need a solid draft, need 3 to 4 starters on offense and awesome depth on defense. Yeah, we'll see, Greg. I hope they can still sign some guys in free agency. It's only the second day, so you just got to be patient, my man. You got to be patient, bro. Is Quentin Johnson a guy on N'Keal Harry vibes? Personally, I don't like big wide receivers for the Patriots. I just don't think they fit. Who's a big receiver that has worked for the Patriots? I think those receivers can be talented players, but I don't think they're going to be good fits in New England's system. Personally. There's lots of players left that can make a difference. There's lots of players. Moss is tall. He's not big. He's tall. He's 6'4". I think like 210. He's not thick at all. What I mean by big is like big. Like, I'm pretty sure Johnson is bigger than Randy Moss. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't like those fits. And Randy Moss is Randy Moss. Okay? It's a little bit different. He's only like maybe the most talented receiver that's ever graced the NFL field. So that's a little bit of a, tough comparison to make. But yeah, I like quick, small receivers for the Patriots. Those are the guys that work for us. That's all I want. I don't need some big 6'5" monster. I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. I'm good. Give him to somebody else. He's going to be great. Just not for the Patriots. He's going to come here and he's not going to be able to do anything. But they'll draft him anyways. Sports Today says, do you think Dalton signing with the Panthers signals they may draft Richardson and sit him 1 year behind Dalton? Reports saying they could get Richardson. I don't think they're going to sit their quarterback for a whole year. I think they're going to draft CJ Stroud. They might play Andy Dalton for a couple games and then he's going to get in the game. I don't think it's a major. I would be shocked if Andy Dalton played a whole year. But I would agree that if he does, it's because they draft Richardson. I agree. Connor says you want Corral to go to the Lions. I think the Lions should look into the QB market for a trade. Whoever they like. Maybe it's Corral, but I don't know. Like a younger guy. Yeah, that would be risky for sure, Apollo. Not saying that would be bad pick. It would be risky, though. Foot says, do you think this is realistic for the Patriots? Sign Marcus Peters, sign Juan Thornhill, sign OBJ, and trade for a D-Hop. That's a great dream. It's not happening. I would expect half of that to be possible. If they signed Marcus Peters or Juan Thornhill and they signed OBJ or traded for D-Hop, I think we would all be happy. Also, a lot of Patriots fans want a safety. Can you guys explain to me why we want a safety so bad? I understand Devin McCourty retired, but we have Kyle Duggar. We have Adrian Phillips. We just re-signed Jabril Peppers. Jalen Mills is going to play safety this year probably because he's been tweeting about it. He literally said, you guys know I play safety, right? On Twitter. And he's probably going to play free safety. And he's good at it. He's good at safety. And we have, on top of that, Miles Bryant has played safety before. And Josh Bledsoe. So, we've got, 6 guys that can play safety. Now, I understand a free safety, but I don't know if we're exactly going to be playing exactly how we played with Devin McCourty. I don't think we're always going to be relying on a deep free safety. I definitely think we're going to be playing more split coverages to safeties. I think Duggar could play that role, honestly. I think he's better in the box, and so is Phillips, and I'm not going to disagree. That's why I feel like Jalen Mills could play that position, or listen, Marcus Jones or Jonathan Jones. Jonathan Jones has been in the defense for 6 years, right? D-Mac went from corner to safety. It's possible that Jonathan Jones at his later age could do that. Or Marcus Jones, who might be a little bit too small for cornerback, but he's got a heck of a knack for the ball. He's a playmaker. He's a good tackler. He can hit. Marcus Jones might be a safety, guys. So I think they've got a solutions already in-house. I would say I would rather draft a safety that's a free safety type rather than signing a safety to big money because I think we already have enough solutions that we can at least throw at the board and say, like, this could work. You know what I mean? Yeah, Arden Key to the Titans. That's peak BLV. Peak BLV propaganda. Bro, do you guys not see it with... Do you not see it with Marcus Jones, though, Jordan? Am I lying through my teeth here? If you watched Marcus Jones play corner, he almost plays corner like he's playing safety. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Orlando Brown is a weirdo. He kind of is. Gaming Season says, dude, the Pats having 800 Joneses on the team confuses the living hell out of me. I know. That's why they're also going to have Brown, Orlando Brown at left tackle, and they're going to have Trent Brown at right tackle, and then they're going to bring Troy Brown back from retirement and play him at wide receiver. So we're just going to have Brown everywhere and Jones everywhere. Marcus Jones slot, but then like you could have, so you could have Jonathan Jones in the slot. You could have Marcus Jones in the slot. Jack Jones is on the outside. Connor says Browns need to sign some linebackers. This draft class is historically weak at off the ball linebacker. Who do we got? Have they not re-signed Walker yet? Are they not going to do that? So Deion Jones is still out there. They probably not going to re-sign him. Levante David is still there. Well, a lot of linebackers are still there. Levante David, Bobby Wagner are both there, who are both still awesome. Denzel Perryman is still there. He's pretty good. Who else? Wow, they don't have a lot on here. I guess they probably have someone outside linebacker. I'm looking at Sport Track. Anthony Barr is still there. There's a few options. They don't tend to spend that much at linebacker, though, do they? I guess they did with Anthony Walker. Didn't spend a ton, but more than the Patriots. Sports Today says, do you think Kansas City is stalling on signing Juju or trying to get Odell or D-Hop? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I think I would have said that they're still trying to get Orlando Brown done, but because they signed Jawan Taylor, I honestly think they might just be out on that. So, yeah, maybe they're looking at a receiver, trying to make a receiver move. Jonathan Jones at QB. Deion Jones and Charlie Jones. Well, yes, we need Deion Jones on the team. Deion Jones, sign him up. We need speed at linebacker. We need speed at linebacker. Let's get another Jones in here. Okay, what else, guys? We did Allen Lazard. Jerron Reed. Let's talk about Jerron Reed. The Seattle Seahawks wanted to add some interior pass rush to their defensive front, and they have done just that. They signed Draymond Jones of the Denver Broncos, and now they are bringing back an old friend. His name is Jerron Reed on a 2-year, $10.8 million deal. I like this move because why? I'm not even the biggest fan of Jerron Reed, but he's worked well with Seattle. He had career years in Seattle. He left for more money elsewhere. And now he's back. And Jerron Reed, to me, is a player that fulfills a game plan task. And the game plan for the Seattle Seahawks in this offseason was address pass rush. pass rush. Jarran Reed can pass rush. Draymond Jones can pass rush. And Jarran Reed's a great complement in that area. He's not going to be the primary guy. You've also got the draft with 2 first-round picks. You're going to address edge. Nwosu had a career year for you on the other side. You already got that locked down. So, this defensive front of Seattle is coming into the vision of what Seattle wanted. Jarran Reed. Let's take a look at what he's been able to do. Last year, he played for Green Bay. Played pretty well. I mean, he was solid. I wouldn't say he was great or anything, but he was solid last year. Starting in 14 games out of 17, he is now going to be 31 years old. He had 2.5 sacks with the Green Bay Packers in 2022. He had 2.5 sacks with the Kansas City Chiefs the year before. 52 tackles this year, 43 the year before. 6.5 sacks with Seattle in 2020. 10.5 sacks in 2018 at 26 years old with Seattle. So he's put up some big sack numbers with Seattle before, career numbers with Seattle. He's back with Seattle. But in recent years, especially with Green Bay, he played in the defense that is more similar to what the Seahawks are now running, which is closer to that 3-4 style. So Draymond Jones, Jarran Reed, 2 guys that fit the mold, right? They were trying to fit last year, Poona Ford, Quentin Jefferson, some of these guys that were traditional for their old style of defense into their new defense, and it didn't work. It really hurt them in run defense, and they weren't able to get as effective as a pass rush. So now they fit these guys that they've seen on tape can perform these tasks inside this scheme. Reed, Jones, and now they've got a pretty darn good start to what could be a really good pass rush before the season begins. If they get a first-round pick on the edge, they already have a couple good, talented edge rushers, and then they've got a Draymond Jones who they signed and a Jarran Reed who they signed. That makes the Seahawks that much more interesting for me, because if the Seahawks can all of a sudden get a pass rush in front of a talented ball-hawking secondary, that's going to make them one of the compelling NFC teams this year. I made a video about them in the offseason saying that I think they can make a major rise. Al Woods is going to be their nose tackle. Didn't mention him yet. They've still got under contract Darrell Taylor, who had a pretty good year. Boye Mafe, who they drafted in the second round last year. Nwosu and Alton Robinson. So they've got solid depth across the board on the edge defensive line front. It's just finding that final edge piece, in my opinion, is what they're looking for. So I really like how Seattle is crafting their defensive front right now. And a linebacker would be nice too. I wonder what they're going to do there, but yeah. I like Seattle's scheme so far. They haven't gone crazy. Ingraven Vids, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Greg says Darnell Washington from Georgia seems awesome. He's a big dude. He can also run pretty fast. Sports Today says, is Dalton Schultz the best tight end on the market? I think he's a top 6-7 tight end. He's the best tight end on the market. My favorite tight end on the market is Mike Gesicki, but Mike Gesicki can't block. Dalton Schultz can. So, depends what type of tight end you're looking for. If you're talking about the Lions, I think Dalton Schultz would be a better fit. Dalton Schultz is a lot like TJ Hawkinson. I would say he's not as good of an athlete, but he's very smart, very savvy. He's a good route runner, really good against zone coverage, like very reliable. And he's more well-rounded than most tight ends. Is Geno Smith going to be solid again? Yeah, I think so. I think Geno Smith's for real. I do. Do you think Juju will get similar money to Allen Lazard and Jakobi? Oh, man. Honestly, I would say, yeah, he's earned it. But will he? I could see teams being scared because of his Honestly, his personality. Gaming season's trying to make me say that everybody's a blue collar. Dalton Schultz kind of is, bro. He kind of is. Kind of is. The only thing I'd worry about Dalton Schultz is that he was very reliant on the chemistry between the quarterback and him, and he had very good chemistry with Dak. So that's what I'd be worried about. Allen Lazard, like, Juju's better than Allen Lazard. I think Jakobi's better than Juju, though. It's close. I think Jakobi's better than Juju. I think the thing I'd say is Juju last year was the second or third target in his offense. Jakobi's been the number one target in his offense for 3 years. That's the difference. Water down the wrong hole. Damn it. Okay. Gaming, what is that? Yeah, I think he'll be very good in Las Vegas. Okay, we've got one more signing that I have not touched on yet. I'm really enjoying your participation in the chat, guys. You have been an awesome chat today. Way better than recent videos. So I very much appreciate everybody that's been here tonight. It's been awesome. What else we got? Just in case I'm missing anything. The Steelers signed Nate Herbig, if anyone cares. He's a guard, backup. He was with the Eagles, but he is like probably a starter on most teams, or not most teams, but like half the league. He'd probably start on half the league, but because he played for the Eagles, he's not. But let's talk about Samson Ebukam. Okay. Yeah, Spillane went to the Raiders. Okay. Just looking. Making sure I'm ready to go. The Colts actually did something in free agency. That is a first. Who would have thunk it? Not me. Okay. The Indianapolis Colts have signed an edge rusher from the San Francisco 49ers. And whenever you hear that, you perk up. Because if you sign a 49er pass rusher, you know you're getting a dog. Samson Ebukam is a dog. He is an underrated player. And they replace Yannick Ngakoue, potentially. He might be back, but they replaced him with a more well-rounded edge player. Ebukam is a good all-around edge defender. He puts up about 5 sacks a year. He had this year 5 sacks, which was actually a career high because in the 3 years previous, he put up 4.5, 4.5, and 4.5. Very consistent. But he put up 5 this year in only 15 games in comparison to full seasons in past. So this was his best pass rushing season as an edge player. 13 quarterback hits, which was also a career high this season, and 7 tackles for loss, which was also a career high. As a pressure department, he was pretty good as well. PFF graded him not that great, 72nd overall at the position on 681 snaps. I do think he makes a good complement to Kwity Paye. He's in the mold of defensive end that you look for in a Gus Bradley scheme. He played, of course, in the wide 9 with the 49ers on the opposite side of Nick Bosa as the primary starter in that defense. The Niners like to rotate a lot of defensive ends into the defense, really outside of Nick Bosa. Ebukam was the guy that started for them on a majority of snaps on the opposite side of Nick Bosa and would rotate with other players. He's a good player. I've liked him for a while, ever since he was with the Rams. You know, he's played stand-up. He's played hand in the dirt. He's played a little bit of like drop back into coverage occasionally type. He's really good against the run. The Niners had one of the best run defenses in the league. Part of that is because of Ebukam. And I think part of the reason the Colts are signing him is because they sucked against the run. And a big reason for that was because of Yannick Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue, his problem is, yeah, he puts up sacks, but he's unreliable as a run defender, which makes him very much kind of a weak point of your defense at times because teams attack him in the run game, which makes him less reliable to have on the field consistently. So maybe Ebukam doesn't put up 10 sacks, but he's going to allow you a player that's more reliable on all 3 downs. And then you're also going to be able to rotate with other guys that maybe bring more flair, more athleticism to the table from a pass rushing standpoint, which you can always find in the draft. So really solid player that will be joining the Colts this year on a $27 million max deal for 3 years, 11 on his first year. The Colts land a free agent, surprisingly. Bye, Sing. Have a good day. I think I'm pretty much done too. I don't know if there's been any other signings. It's about that time where the NFL stops signing people. Gronk, spike the like button, guys, if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new, please. More NFL coming tomorrow. I'll be back live around the same time, probably. And I might even go live for the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Or maybe just make a reaction video, but either way. There'll be videos out, so make sure you hit that notification bell. Of course they're still signing players, but they'll be signing players tomorrow, probably not tonight. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. If you enjoyed, Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe. We will see you soon. It's Mitch of the BLV. Pray that the Patriots make some moves. Peace.